I spent my entire life learning how to live in the shadow of my older sister, Grace. Some people are born with soft edges. Grace was born with fireworks. Loud, dazzling, impossible to ignore. She walked into every room like she owned the walls, the air, and the attention of anyone breathing inside it. Me. I was the quiet one, the stable one, the one who didn't need to be seen to feel alive. Growing up, everyone called her the life of the party. Even our mother used to say, "Grace lights up the room. Nora reads the room." I used to pretend it didn't hurt. Maybe I even convinced myself it didn't. But deep down, there is a specific sting that comes from always being compared to someone who thrives in chaos while you thrive in peace. Grace worked in one of the biggest financial houses in town. High pay, high heels, high drama. She changed boyfriends like outfits, and she loved the thrill of being adored. She loved being admired. She loved winning even when nobody else was playing. I, on the other hand, found comfort in law books and quiet office spaces. I worked for my uncle's firm, building cases and building myself slowly with each passing day. My life wasn't flashy, but it was calm, predictable, safe. That safety would not last. Everything shifted the night of Jace's promotion party, when Grace floated in wearing a red dress that demanded attention. And beside her, with a smile too smooth to be trusted, was the man who would eventually burn her entire world down, Desmond. If only we had known, then what we know now. If only Grace hadn't been so desperate to prove she had won. If only I had realized that this man, this charming stranger, would be the reason my sister would one day fall apart in my arms, begging for help I wasn't sure she deserved. The first time I saw Desmond, I felt something in my stomach tighten, not attraction, not curiosity, something closer to suspicion. He walked beside Grace like he had always known her, hand on her lower back, guiding her through the room like he owned the place. But his eyes were too alert, scanning the crowd like he was keeping track of exits. Grace didn't notice, of course. She was too busy glowing. "Nora," she sang, dragging out my name as she pulled him toward me. "Meet my future husband." "Future what?" I blinked, but she only giggled. Desmond extended his hand. His grip was firm, too firm, like he was used to overcompensating. "Grace has told me a lot about you," he said smoothly. I forced a polite smile. "Oh, hopefully the good things." He laughed, but there was no warmth in it. Grace looped her arm around his. "Desmond is in international finance," she announced loudly, just in case nobody had heard. "Travels everywhere, works with top investors, big deals." My brother, Jace, who had been standing nearby, raised an eyebrow. "International finance, where exactly?" Desmond's answer came too quickly. "Everywhere. I move around a lot." "What firm?" Jace pressed. Grace shot him a glare. "Are you interviewing him?" But Jace wasn't smiling. He had always been the sharpest among us, the one who could spot a lie before the liar even spoke. Desmond's vague responses only made Jace more curious. Later that night, as the party wound down, Jace pulled me aside. "You felt it too, didn't you?" he asked. I didn't pretend. Something off. Jace nodded slowly. "I've got friends who can run checks. I'll make a few calls." And just like that, without knowing it, Grace's perfect love story began to wobble, the smallest crack forming in the fantasy she was desperately building. A crack big enough for the truth to eventually break through. 3 days after the promotion party, I was back in my office, buried in case files when my phone buzzed. It was Jace. "Are you alone?" he asked. "Yes, why?" "I need you to come to my place tonight. It's about Grace's fiancé." My stomach dipped. "You found something." "Just come," he said and hung up. When I arrived at his apartment that evening, his expression told me everything before he even spoke. Jace wasn't the type to panic easily. He was calm, logical, the opposite of Grace. But tonight, he looked like someone who had just stepped into something deep. He nodded toward his laptop. "Nora, Desmond isn't who he says he is." My heart thumped. "What do you mean?" I ran his details, twice. His name doesn't trace cleanly. The address he gave Grace doesn't exist. The company he claims to work for never heard of him. I swallowed hard. So, what is he? Jace leaned back, arms crossed. A liar, a shapeshifter, someone who has built a life on stories he can't back up. A cold wave moved through me. Grace was in love with this man, blindly, recklessly in love. She had already called him her future husband, already imagined her perfect life with him, and she was the type who would rather walk barefoot over fire than admit she was wrong. Should we tell her? I whispered. Jace hesitated. I want solid proof first, something undeniable. She'll never believe us without it. He was right. Grace would accuse us of jealousy before she ever entertained the idea that her perfect man might be a fraud. As I drove home that night, a pressure settled on my chest. Something was coming, something big. Desmond wasn't just hiding something, he was running from something. And whatever it was going to hit our family whether Grace was ready or not. I didn't know it then, but this was the night everything started to unravel. For the next week, I tried to keep my mind on work, but Desmond's name lingered in every corner of my thoughts. No matter how many contracts I reviewed or cases I prepared, a quiet uneasiness stayed with me, like a shadow that refused to move. Grace, meanwhile, was floating on clouds. Every family group, chat message from her, was another exaggerated display of love. Desmond bought me flowers. Desmond says we're soulmates. Desmond says he's never met a woman like me. I muted the chat. One evening, she called me out of nowhere. I hesitated before picking up, already bracing myself. Nora, she squealed, voice dripping with excitement. Guess who just took me to the most expensive restaurant in the city? Desmond, I said flatly. She laughed, too loud, too happy. You should see the way he treats me. Honestly, I don't know why you waste your time in courtrooms instead of finding a man. It's like you don't want happiness. The comment stung, but I kept my tone even. Grace, are you sure you know him well enough? Her voice sharpened instantly. What is that supposed to mean? I hesitated. I wanted to tell her everything Jace found. I wanted to warn her. But I also knew Grace would only hear insult, not concern. Just don't rush, I said softly. She scoffed. You're jealous, Nora, just admit it. Desmond is everything you wish you had. I closed my eyes, fighting the urge to end the call. Grace, this isn't a competition. To you, she snapped, but to me, I've already won. And just like that, the call ended. I sat there, staring at the empty wall, feeling an ache settle behind my ribs. There's a unique pain in watching someone you love sprint toward a fire and knowing they'll only slow down when they feel the burn themselves. Grace couldn't see the flames yet, but they were coming. 3 days passed before Grace called me again. I didn't expect her to, not after the last conversation. But when my phone rang that evening, her name flashing across the screen, something inside me tightened. I answered. Grace. Her voice was small, not the usual dramatic, polished tone she used when talking about Desmond. Nora, are you busy? No, what's wrong? She inhaled shakily. Desmond got upset today. Pause. He raised his voice at me. I closed the file in front of me, every nerve alert. Why? Her silence stretched, because I asked him a question. What question? She swallowed audibly. I asked why he keeps disappearing for hours without telling me where he goes. The first crack. What did he say? I pressed gently. That I'm ungrateful, she whispered. That I don't appreciate him, that I'm suspicious for no reason. I clenched my jaw. I knew this pattern. I'd seen it in cases, in testimonies, in women who walked into courtrooms emotionally shredded. Men like Desmond always had the same script. Grace, I said slowly, that is not normal. I knew you'd say that, she snapped, though the energy behind it was weaker than usual. I just needed to hear your voice. I softened. I'm here, tell me everything. He apologized later, she rushed out, as if defending him from a crime he clearly committed. He said he was stressed. He took me shopping. He bought me a phone case. He said he loves me. A phone case. To patch over screaming. Do you think that makes it better? I asked quietly. Another long silence. Then, Nora, do you think something is wrong with him? Or with me? My heart sank. Because that's exactly how manipulation works. It makes confident women question their sanity. No, I said firmly. There is nothing wrong with you, but something is definitely off with him. She exhaled shakily, like someone finally letting oxygen reach their lungs. But before I could push further, she whispered, "Please, don't tell anyone I said this." I won't. But deep inside, I knew this wasn't the last time she'd whisper like this. It was only the beginning. 2 days after Grace's shaky phone call, I couldn't focus on anything. Not my cases, not my meetings, not even my uncle's lecture about courtroom etiquette. My mind kept replaying her voice, small, unsure, scared. So I made a decision. I drove to her house unannounced. When I arrived, the compound was quiet, too quiet. Grace's car was outside, but Desmond was. I climbed the short stairs and knocked. It took a full minute before she opened the door. And what I saw made my stomach twist. Her eyes were swollen. Not dramatically, not enough that someone who didn't know her would notice. But I knew her face better than anyone. Her lips were bitten raw, like she'd been holding in tears for hours. "Nora, you should have called." "You wouldn't have opened if I did," I said plainly. She looked away. "Can I come in?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. The living room was spotless, too spotless, like she'd cleaned to distract herself from whatever had happened earlier. A faint scent of lavender hung in the air, mixed with something metallic. Not blood, something sharper, fear. I sat down. "Where, Desmond?" She froze mid-step. "He went out." "For how long?" She shrugged, her shoulders tight. "He didn't say." I leaned forward. "Grace, what happened between you two?" Her voice came out thin. "Nothing." "Grace." She sank slowly onto the couch opposite mine. "I shouldn't have told you anything. You'll just judge him." "I'm judging the situation, not your husband." She rubbed her palms together nervously. "He said I ask too many questions, that I'm trying to control him, that I don't trust him." I watched her closely. "Did he hurt you?" She flinched, not at the question, but at something behind it. I stood, walked closer, gently lifted her chin. There it was. A faint bruise, perfectly concealed under makeup. Heat crawled up my spine, slow and cold. "Nora," she whispered, "please don't tell Jace." I stared at her, feeling something inside me lock into place. "Oh, he will know," I said quietly. "Because now, I'm done pretending." Outside, a car engine approached. Grace's eyes widened. "He's back." And just like that, the room turned to ice. The moment the car engine died outside, Grace's entire body stiffened. She looked like a child waiting for thunder after lightning. I hated it. Hated that she had become this fragile version of herself. The front door opened. Heavy footsteps entered the living room. Desmond walked in wearing a crisp white shirt and a smirk that didn't belong to a man with a worried wife. His eyes moved from Grace to me and stopped. He wasn't expecting me. "Well, well," he said. "Nora, what a surprise." I didn't stand. I wanted him to feel the weight of my presence. "I came to see my sister," I replied calmly. He nodded slowly, his smile tight. "Without calling first." "I figured you'd say no." Something flickered in his eyes. Annoyance, fear, I couldn't tell. He stepped closer, too close, and Grace instinctively shifted behind me. That single movement told me everything about what she had been enduring. "I'm curious," Desmond said, still smiling. "What exactly are you here to talk about?" I met his gaze without blinking. "Her well-being." His eyes hardened. "That's between me and my wife." "No," I said, rising now, deliberately invading his space. "When my sister starts hiding bruises under makeup, it becomes my business." Grace gasped softly. "Nora, please." But it was too late. Desmond's mask cracked. For a split second, the real him flashed through, cold, calculating, dangerous. "You're making accusations in my house?" he asked quietly. "I'm stating facts." The silence stretched, thick and tense. Then he stepped back, shrugged, and laughed like someone who had nothing to fear. "That's fine. Stay out of our marriage." "Not happening." His smile evaporated, replaced by something ugly. "Nora, you don't know who you're dealing with." "Oh, I do," I said, "and soon everyone will." His jaw tightened. Grace whispered my name, terrified. But I didn't back down. Because for the first time since she married him, Grace wasn't standing alone. And Desmond knew it. I didn't sleep that night. Grace kept insisting she was fine, but her voice shook every time the gate creaked or a car passed outside. She flinched at shadows. She apologized too quickly. She panicked when her phone vibrated. That wasn't my sister. That was a woman living in fear. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I drove straight to Jace's place, the only person who had seen through Desmond from the first day. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and said, "He did something." "Not yet," I replied. "But Grace is terrified and he's getting bolder." Jace stepped aside, his jaw tightening. "Tell me everything." So I did, from the bruises Grace tried to hide, to Desmond's threatening tone, to the darkness I saw in his eyes when I confronted him. When I finished, Jace ran a hand over his face. "I knew that guy was trouble," he muttered. "Nora, you need to be careful. Desmond isn't just lying about his name. People like him don't walk into a family with clean hands." I swallowed hard. "How bad do you think it is?" Jace pulled out his phone. "Enough that my friend abroad warned me to stay far away. And if he's telling me to back off, it's bad." My stomach sank. "We can't leave Grace with him." "We won't," Jace said firmly. "But we have to be smart. This isn't just relationship drama. This is criminal-level secrecy." A chill ran through me. Jace leaned forward. "Nora, listen carefully. Before the wedding, when I ran that check, the system flagged the name he was using. But there was more." "What more?" Jace hesitated, and that hesitation scared me more than anything else. "There were 2 alerts," he said slowly. "One for fraud." He paused. "And the second alert was sealed." My heartbeat stilled. Sealed as in only federal agencies can access it. A cold wave washed over me. What the hell did Grace marry? Jace looked at me with the most serious expression I'd ever seen on his face. "That's what we need to find out." "A sealed alert," I repeated, my voice barely steady. He nodded. "Yes, and sealed alerts don't come from small problems." My pulse throbbed in my ears. "What do we do?" I asked. Jace leaned back slowly. "First, we protect Grace. Second." His phone buzzed. We both looked at the screen. It was a message from Grace. "Grace. Nora, he's acting strange. Please come." My stomach clenched. Jace stood instantly. "Let's go." But I shook my head. "No, if he sees you, he'll feel threatened. Let me go alone first." Jace didn't like it, but he trusted me. "Fine," he said. "But Nora, don't provoke him, not yet." Not yet. He didn't understand. Desmond had already provoked me. And he was about to regret it. When I entered her house, Grace looked like she hadn't slept in days. Hair messy, lips trembling, hands shaking. "Nora," she whispered, rushing into my arms. I hugged her tightly. "Where is he?" She swallowed. "In the bedroom." "Is he calm?" "No," she whispered. "He's watching me." Something dark twisted in my chest. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Desmond stepped out of the bedroom, and for the first time, he didn't smile. He smirked. "Nora," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "Why are you always here?" "Because your wife asked me to be." He chuckled. "Grace and her dramatics." Grace flinched. He saw it. He enjoyed it. "I'm not here to fight," I said coolly. "I'm here to talk." His eyes sharpened. Talk about what? Boundaries, I said simply. Grace feels unsafe. Silence. Then Desmond laughed, low, ugly, mean. Unsafe, with me. Grace's eyes filled with tears. I stepped between them. That bruise she's hiding. Desmond raised a brow. What bruise? I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. I pointed at Grace's cheek. Grace gasped. Nora. Show him, I said, voice like steel. Desmond's jaw tightened. His mask cracked. And for one heartbeat, I saw him. The real him. A cornered liar. A desperate pretender. A man who knew the walls were closing in. This conversation is over, he said. Leave now. But this time, Grace stepped beside me. Trembling. Afraid. But not silent. Don't talk to my sister like that. Desmond froze. And that was when I knew. The power had shifted. Later that night, Grace came to my apartment. Small suitcase, tear-stained face, panic in her eyes. He threw my phone, she whispered. Said I'm trying to turn the world against him. My chest tightened. Did he hit you again? No, but he wanted to. That was enough for me. Grace, I said softly, you don't have to go back. But she shook her head violently. No, if I run, he'll chase me. He'll show up at work. He'll stalk me. You don't understand. He watches everything. Her voice cracked. And if he finds out about the background check, he'll go mad. I grabbed her shoulders. Then listen to me. We won't run. She blinked. What? We'll make him fall, I said. From the inside, piece by piece. Grace stared at me. What if he ruins my career? My voice was cold. Controlled. Then we ruin everything he has left before he touches yours. Her breath hitched. This was the moment Grace switched sides. From protecting him to standing with me. And Desmond. He sensed it. Because the very next morning, he started spying on us. At 10:16 a.m., while I was at the law office, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A male voice said, Is this Nora Hayes? Yes, who's calling? This is Agent Porter, FBI. My stomach dropped. FBI. Yes, we need to ask you some questions. It's regarding a man who may be using the name Desmond Kane. My blood turned to ice. How did you get my number? We found it in a digital footprint connected to a flagged identity. Flagged for what? The agent paused. Then, multiple interstate fraud cases. 4 years on the run. We believe he's using several aliases and may be connected to a major financial manipulation scheme. My breath caught. And he's with my sister. Yes, the agent said quietly. And you need to keep her far away from him. I froze. Because there it was. The truth we feared. The truth that would break Grace. And the truth I would weaponize. Because Desmond made 2 mistakes. He lied to our family. And worse, he hurt my sister. I wasn't going to the FBI. Not yet. No. I wanted him to feel it first. Piece by piece. Jace and I sat in tense silence as the weight of the sealed alert hovered between us. A sealed record meant only one thing. Whatever Desmond was hiding was too dangerous, too serious, or too embarrassing for public access. And Grace had married him without a single question. Jace, I whispered, we have to dig deeper. He nodded. I'll try, but sealed files aren't easy to pull. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were dealing with a man who had spent years perfecting deception. Someone who wore identities like costumes. Someone who chose Grace because she was loud and easy to distract. And I was the quiet one, the observer, the one he didn't expect to watch him closely. He wasn't ready for me. Desmond slipped. It happened at a family dinner. Grace invited everyone to show off her perfect marriage. Desmond arrived late, sweaty, nervous and jumpy. "Traffic," he said. But when he lifted his wine glass, I noticed faint ink marks on his wrist. Numbers, not random timestamps. My legal brain tingled. "What industry did you say you worked in again?" I asked casually. He smiled too wide. "International finance." Jace watched him like prey. "Funny, all real finance guys I know don't look like they sprint between dumpsters on lunch breaks." Grace hissed at him. "Stop embarrassing my husband." But Desmond froze. He had heard something in Jace's tone, a challenge, a threat. "What are you implying?" he asked. "That you lie," Jace replied simply. Grace exploded. She stood, slammed her napkin, shouted at us, but underneath her rage was fear. Fear she was starting to admit to herself. Fear she couldn't hide anymore. At 1:47 a.m., my phone rang. "Nora, can you come over?" Grace whispered, voice trembling. I drove immediately. When she opened the door, her hands shook uncontrollably. "He took money from my account," she whispered. $3,000. "What did he say?" "That I owed him." Her eyes watered. "Nora, I think I married a stranger." I placed a hand on her shoulder. "No, Grace, you married a liar." She leaned into me. For the first time in her life, my sister needed me. And for the first time in my life, I felt something shift inside me. A quiet rage. Focused. Cold. Purposeful. I wasn't going to let Desmond destroy her. But I also wasn't going to save Grace without making her face the consequences of mocking me at her wedding, mocking my life, mocking my choices. Revenge was coming. And it would be beautiful. I went to work, but instead of case files, I spent the day running background checks through quiet channels. Lawyers always know someone who knows someone. By noon, a contact called. "Nora, that man your family is involved with. He has 3 complaints filed under different aliases." My breath hitched. "What kind of complaints?" "Identity fraud, loan scams, relationship scams, financial manipulation." Pause. "And he skipped a court hearing 4 years ago. A fugitive, hiding in my sister's house." I closed my eyes. If Grace wouldn't leave him, I would force that separation myself. One strategic move at a time. It began with a simple lie I fed him. "Desmond," I said during a family brunch, "I recommended you to someone in international finance. They want to see your credentials." Grace beamed. Desmond froze. Then he laughed stiffly. "I don't carry documents around." I smiled. "Send them digitally." He swallowed. "I'll get them." He never did. Grace noticed. Another crack. 2 days later, Grace found a second phone in his drawer. He snatched it before she could unlock it. "Are you spying on me?" he shouted. "You're hiding things," she shouted back. They argued for hours. Neighbors heard. Someone called Jace. Jace called me. Grace was unraveling fast. Desmond was slipping faster. I started documenting everything. Dates, times, evidence. Not for police. Not yet. For public revenge. He wasn't just going to be arrested. He was going to be arrested in front of everyone. My uncle, a senior partner at the firm, listened quietly as I laid out everything. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he exhaled sharply. "Nora, that man is a predator." "I know." "You want him prosecuted." I shook my head. "No, I want him humiliated." My uncle sat back. "You want a public arrest?" "Yes." He nodded slowly. "I know the right officer." And that was the moment everything clicked. The final phase of Desmond's downfall had begun. Grace announced a 3-month wedding anniversary brunch. She wanted to prove to the world that her marriage was still strong. Perfect. Guests, cameras, neighbors, extended family, people she had mocked me in front of. I smiled. I'll be there. Because that brunch was where Desmond's past would catch up with him. Where his lies would collapse. where Grace would witness the truth she ignored, and where I would get my revenge. Desmond came to my house. I didn't invite him. He just knocked. When I opened the door, his eyes were hollow. "You're meddling," he whispered. I didn't respond. "You think you're smarter than me, Nora?" I stepped closer. "I don't think so." Pause. "I know so." His jaw clenched. "You'll regret crossing me." I smiled. "Not as much as you'll regret marrying into this family." He stormed out. I had officially declared war. Grace called crying. "Nora, they suspended me at work." "What? Why?" "They said there's a fraud investigation linked to my husband. My husband, Nora. I could lose my job." She sobbed. And I let her. Because sometimes pain wakes people up. "Grace," I said gently, "you married a man you didn't know." She didn't fight back this time. She was too tired. Good. She needed to break before she could rebuild. An unknown number called me. "Is this Nora?" "Yes." "This is Agent Harris. We've been tracking a fugitive who may be living under the name Desmond. We were told you might have information." I inhaled slowly. "Showtime." "I do. We may need your assistance to apprehend him." I smiled coldly. "I'll give you the perfect location." And I did. The anniversary brunch. I planted bait, a message Grace would accidentally see. "Nora, why are you texting Desmond about clearing up his identity?" I pretended to panic. "Oh, Grace, that's nothing." She grabbed the phone. The message looked like I was confronting Desmond behind her back. Grace confronted him. He screamed. She screamed back. Drama. Chaos. Perfect. Because desperation makes people sloppy. And Desmond became sloppy. Family arrived. Neighbors gathered. Grace decorated the venue herself, forcing smiles through pain. Desmond arrived late, rattled, sweating, paranoid. "Smile," I whispered as he passed. "You'll want to look good for the cameras." He glared. Grace raised her glass. "To love." But the universe had other plans. 2 unmarked vehicles pulled up outside the venue. Quiet. Unassuming. Deadly intentional. Guests murmured. Cameras turned. Desmond stiffened. His eyes darted around. "Grace, we need to leave," he whispered urgently. "Why?" she asked. He didn't answer. Because even he knew. The past had arrived. The lead officer approached the entrance. "Is there a Mr. Desmond, or any of these aliases?" He held a paper filled with multiple identities. Gasps filled the room. Grace's hand shook. "Desmond, what are they talking about?" I stepped forward. "Grace, this is why your job suspended you." Desmond panicked. "I can explain." "You can explain," the officer said firmly, "at the station." The officer grabbed his wrist. Desmond jerked away. But 3 more officers surrounded him. "I didn't do anything," he screamed. Guests recorded. Neighbors whispered. Children pointed. Grace trembled. And I watched. Silent. Calm. Satisfied. Desmond was handcuffed in front of every single person he once tried to impress. His mask fell. His lies fell. His pride shattered. He looked at me as they dragged him away. "You did this." "Yes," I whispered. "I did." After they drove off, Grace dropped to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "Nora, my life is over." "No," I said softly, helping her up. "Your fantasy is over. Your life is just beginning." For the first time in years, Grace hugged me genuinely. "I should have listened to you." I didn't say, "I told you so." Revenge was complete. No need to rub salt. 1 week later, Grace moved back home. She went to therapy. She apologized for every hurtful thing she'd ever said to me. And Desmond, facing multiple charges, multiple identities, multiple victims. His trial would be public, his downfall permanent. I visited Grace one evening. She looked fragile but better. "Nora," she whispered, "why did you help me after everything I did?" I smiled. "Because I don't need to hurt you to win." Watching the truth catch up with Desmond was enough. She nodded, crying. And that was the moment I realized. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, calculated, inevitable. And I, Nora the quiet sister, had the last laugh.